welcome to my new video. In the previous video, you have learned about male and female reproductive system, and our today's topic is fertilization. Fertilization is the process by which two separate gametes fuse with one another. That is called fertilization. Fusion of gametes is called fertilization. So what are these gametes? As you know that human perform sexual reproduction. So there are two separate sexes present. One is male sex, another is female sex. Males produce male gamete, that is sperm, and females produce female gamete, that is egg. Now this sperm and egg fuse with one another. This entire process is called fertilization. So let's see what is fertilization. This is large female gamete, egg, or biologically it is termed as ovum, and this is small male gamete, that is known as sperm. These egg and sperm fuse with one another, just like this. Egg and sperm fuse with one another, and this fusion process is called fertilization. This is female reproductive system. You have seen it earlier. In earlier lecture you have seen it. Now the egg is produced inside the ovary. Okay. After production the egg get matured, and after the process ovulation this egg get released from the ovary. So this is the process ovulation. Now egg get released from ovary and it get entered inside the fallopian tube. This portion of fallopian tube, this much portion of fallopian tube, it is very important. Biologically it is very important. In this portion egg stays for a few hours. Okay. Now sperms get entered through this passage. This is the vaginal tract through which insemination happens. Okay. That is, semen is poured inside vagina and sperms entered inside the female tract, and they tend to fuse with egg. Okay. In this particular region sperm and egg get fused with each other, and fertilization happens in this particular portion. Now we will see what happens after this fertilization. See, this is egg, this is egg nucleus, this one is sperm, this is sperm tail, sperm head, and this one is sperm nucleus. After fusion of sperm head with the egg cell membrane, the sperm head which is containing acrosome, okay, the sperm head is containing acrosome, and this acrosome is filled with a special enzyme that is known as hyaluronidase enzyme. This hyaluronidase enzyme is biologically very important because this enzyme has capacity to penetrate the cell layers inside the egg. Okay. This is the egg nucleus, and surrounding the nucleus there are several layers of cells. These layers are called granulosa cell layers. Okay. Now this sperm acrosome releases its hyaluronidase enzyme onto these layers and they get ruptured. Now this sperm nucleus get entered through this. Now this sperm nucleus get entered inside the egg cell up to the egg nucleus by penetrating these cell layers, okay, with the help of hyaluronidase enzyme. See, this sperm nucleus now entered inside egg, and the egg nucleus and sperm nucleus get attached with one another and they form a single nucleus. Now this single nucleus is formed from one haploid egg nucleus and another haploid sperm nucleus. So these two haploid nuclei give rise the diploid zygote nucleus. So what is zygote nucleus? This newly formed nucleus is called zygote nucleus. Surrounding this nucleus a new cell is formed. So this is the zygote cell. This cell is known as zygote, and here it is the initiation of the next generation. Zygote is the connecting link between previous generation and the upcoming generation. The next question can arise in your mind that where does this zygote is formed? This zygote is formed inside this fallopian tube. Suppose here zygote is formed. Within this time, the endometrium, you have seen it earlier, the endometrium is the innermost layer of uterus. It is the vascularized layer. It is supplied with several capillaries, several blood vessels to embed the newly formed body or the embryo. So, the zygote is formed here, and this zygote is moving towards the suitable position where the endometrium is thickest. That portion, in that portion, the zygote get attached, and this process is called implantation. But before implantation, there are several changes happening inside zygote. This is the zygote, single cell, one cell zygote. Now this zygote start division, mitosis division it performs. Mitosis is the double multiplication division, and now this single cell gives rise to separate cell, but these two cells get still attached. Okay, this division is called cleavage division. Cleavage, zygote undergo cleavage division. This is the first cleavage division, and this is the next cleavage division. Zygote was one cell, now it is two cell stage, it is four cell stage, it is four celled cleavage division stage. Okay, this is the multiplication rate 2, 4, 8, that is double multiplication rate. Now this zygote continues its division and it makes 8 cell stage. See, this is the 8 cells. This is the 8 cell stage, and this stage, this particular stage is known as morula. This is morula. Okay, so zygote undergoes several divisions, several mitotic division, and these stages are known as cleavage, morula, blastula, gastrula. I am going to show you morula, blastula. What are these stages? Morula. After morula, this blastula is formed having 32 to 64 number of cells. Now this blastula is not the stage when it can be implanted. Blastula now transform into blastocyst stage, and this blastocyst is the stage when all this cell mass get separated in a particular zone, leaving an empty space here. This is the blastocyst stage. This stage is known as blastocyst stage. It is again very important stage because in this stage this zygote can implanted in the endometrium. After implantation, now you can see this zygote now implanted in the endometrial layer. After implantation, it start formation embryo. After that, fetus, etc. Blastula now transform into blastocyst stage, and this blastocyst is the stage when all this cell mass get separated in a particular zone, leaving an empty space here. This is the blastocyst stage. This stage is known as blastocyst stage. It is again very important stage because in this stage this zygote can implanted in the endometrium. After implantation, now you can see this zygote now implanted in the endometrial layer. After implantation, it start formation embryo. After that, fetus. Our next topic is reproductive cycle. This is also commonly known as menstrual cycle, okay, biologically known as reproductive cycle. A female, a girl who is reproductively active, who is sexually matured, she always has this cycle in her lifetime, okay, reproductive cycle it is known as. So, when a lady, a girl enters into her puberty period, then this cycle starts and this time is known as menarche, okay, and the girl is known as menarche girl. And whenever she reach up to the age 40 to 45, then this cycle get paused, and this phase is called as menopause. There are certain changes occurred inside ovary during this cycle. So now we are going to see what are those changes. It is a cross section of ovary. Now the upper portion, the outer portion is known as ovarian cortex. You can see this is ovarian cortex, and the inner core portion is called as ovarian medulla. Inside this medulla there are arteries and veins. We are going to talk about the cortical region. In this cortex, several follicles matures every month and they get destroyed every month. Now I am going to show you all the events, all the follicular maturation events inside this ovary. You can see in the cortical region, this small cell is known as primary oocyte. This is the new term, primary oocyte. This primary oocyte gets surrounded by several cell layers, and it is, see, this is primary oocyte. It gets surrounded by several cell layers around it, and now it gets enlarged. It is now known as primary follicle. It is known as primary follicle. It is the primary follicle. Now this primary follicle again gets surrounded more layers of cells. This is the primary oocyte. Surrounding this primary oocyte, more number of granulosa cells are arranged and the entire follicle get enlarged. Now it is known as secondary follicle. Now it is known as secondary follicle. By this process, primary follicle gives rise to secondary follicle will give rise the tertiary follicle. See? This is the tertiary follicle. This is just enlargement of follicle, primary to secondary, secondary to tertiary. And now the mature Graafian follicle will arise. Primary oocyte remains same. Primary oocyte. This one is again primary oocyte up to tertiary follicle. This is primary oocyte up to tertiary follicle. The cell inside it is primary oocyte. And in case of Graafian follicle, the cell inside it, just a minute. It is totally matured, totally developed, having a central vacuole. This is known as antrum, and this cell is known as Graafian follicle. This is the mature follicle. This is known as Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle is containing the cell inside it is called secondary oocyte. Up to tertiary follicle it was primary oocyte, and now it is the secondary oocyte. In this Graafian follicle, as it is fully matured, fully ripened, so this Graafian follicle get ruptured and it releases. See, suppose it is the ruptured Graafian follicle and it releases its content, that is the secondary oocyte from it. And this process of release of egg or secondary oocyte from the Graafian follicle is known as ovulation. This process is known as ovulation. You have already seen what is the event after ovulation. After ovulation, this egg get fused with the sperm. Okay. After ovulation, this remnant of Graafian follicle get converted into a single secretory body, and it is known as corpus luteum. It is known as corpus luteum. Luteum or lutea in biology, it always denotes yellow color. So it is a yellow color mass. It is known as corpus luteum. It is very important because it is storing progesterone and it is responsible for secretion of progesterone. This progesterone is known as pregnancy hormone. As ovulation already happened, so the next step is fertilization, or it is pregnancy time. So this corpus luteum now starts secreting progesterone to maintain the entire phase of pregnancy. So here we have learned what will happen if fertilization takes place. In next video, I will show you what will happen if fertilization doesn't take place. So keep watching my channel and subscribe it, and you can post any question as per your requirement. I will answer. So like my channel and subscribe it. Bye.